Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm TapsKitty2 and today we are going to be playing the Simic variation of Neobrand. This is a deck that I am excited to finally share with you guys. I've been trying to make this video for a couple of weeks now and I've just been needing to push it off due to technical difficulties and life issues. But we are going to be trying out a card that was recently, although now not so recently, printed in Lorman Eclipsed, which is Wistfulness. I think this is potentially a reason to be playing the Simic variation over the Bant variation, which I have preferred up to this point. So, as with all of our videos, what we are going to do today is we are going to run through a very quick deck tech, talking about what this deck is, what it's trying to do, and what makes it different from the variation I normally play. And then we're going to jump into a league, play our 5 matches, and have a wrap up at the end. As always, the deck list is in the description, and I will have times for the matches down in the description if you want to skip ahead to a match or to a wrap-up, or if you want to come back and rewatch something later. So, this deck is a variation of Neoform combo. This is one of the older variations. So Neoform combo decks have been recently having a sort of resurgence in Modern, and they are using Neoform and Allosaurus Rider, which is a 7-drop that we can cast for free by exiling 2 green cards from our hand. Neoform and Eldritch Evolution let us sacrifice a creature, search our library for a slightly bigger creature, and put it into play. We've got Eldritch Evolution here as our copies 5 through 8 of Neoform, and Summoner's Pact as our copies 5 through 8 of Allosaurus Rider. So we've got 8 of each of our combo pieces, which is fairly consistent. And in Modern, usually Neobrand or Neoform combo decks are trying to put a big creature into play and then win the game that way. Neobrand in particular is trying to fetch Grizzlebrand and kill the opponent on the spot. We're not doing any attacking shenanigans. We're not just putting in a big thing and hoping it wins the game. We're trying to end the game immediately. And the way that we are doing that is with another free pitch spell, Nourishing Shoal. This is a spell that lets us exile a green card from our hand and gain life equal to the green card's mana value. So we have 2 Autochthon Worms here, which we can exile for 15 life. And Grizzlebrand, of course, says pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. So with our Nourishing Shoals, with our Grizzlebrand, we're going to draw our entire deck. And from there, we're going to set up a loop where we gut shot our opponent 3 times, Nourishing Shoal 3 times, and then use Endurance to put it all back into the deck and run it again. And that will kill our opponent from up to like 24 life, which is pretty good. We have something like 140 green mana value in this deck in order to do that with. And then we've got a little bit of just like consistency cards. So we've got a couple of Elven Farsight, which I joke is the green Ponder. That is to say, that's only the case if you're running enough creatures. This list does happen to be, we have 18 creatures in this list. 16 is usually the minimum for Elven Farsight. And we've got Planar Genesis. Planar Genesis is one of the changes in this list from the Bant version. The Bant version uses Glittering Wish, which tutors a multicolored card from our sideboard, and that can grab Neoform, or it can grab Elid Omri's Call, which can then tutor for any creature, which can grab the Allosaurus Rider. So Planar Genesis is slightly faster than Glittering Wish if we're looking for Allosaurus Rider, because it's not it's not 4 mana. It's only 2 mana, because Glittering Wish plus Elid Omri's Call is 4 mana. But it is slightly less consistent in that it is an impulse rather than a tutor. And that's sort of like the eternal struggle of consistency cards in this deck, is how fast do you want to be versus how consistent do you want to be. The other big change is Consigned to Memory here. We are playing this over Angel's Grace. Consigned to Memory is slightly more interactive with what our opponent is doing, but it's slightly weaker in the face of counterspells, and it can't just immediately erase all of our pact triggers. We have to like actually count how many pacts we're casting. And then in terms of the mana base, we have a couple of basics here to get around Blood Moon. We are playing snow-covered basics specifically because the Neoform combo decks that are that sort of tier 2 deck in Modern recently are playing Icefang Quaddle in the sideboard. And so we're going to try to like pretend to be the slightly slower list for a little bit and then hit our opponent with the Nourishing Shoals. And they should pretty quickly realize that we are not trying to be slow when we resolve our Neoform. We do get to play 2 Bosejus without going up to 61 cards, which is an issue I have in the Bant list. So obviously we've got a slightly a slightly more streamlined mana base if we're just in 2 colors. Then over in the sideboard, because we're not running a wish board, we have a lot more freedom. So the 4 Leyline of Sanctity, the 3 Veil of Summer, those are consistent across the 2 lists. Wistfulness is here in the place of Force of Vigor and Wilt. This is our bring it in most games answer to Artifact and Enchantment Hate that can also act as a card draw spell if we need it. I genuinely think this is a pretty powerful card, but we are going to see how it performs over the course of the league. And then we've got Into the Floodmaw as additional answers to early hate pieces, and a single Autochthon Worm. I'm not super certain on this sideboard slot. I think this could theoretically be anything if you just want like a one of to throw in. I'm really tempted to throw in like a Miri as a cheerleader because I really like Miri. I almost never bring this in, but the reason that it's here theoretically is if we are boarding out our Chancellor of the Tangle, which is the way that we become Modern's only turn 1 combo deck. If we're boarding out Chancellor of the Tangle, which we do in most matchups, and we're boarding into the Floodmaw, we're dropping a ton of green mana value, so the Autochthon Worm is there as the 4th board in to sort of offset that loss. And that is the deck. There's a couple of tricks in here. There's a lot of chaos. Like we've got, tutors and we've got flex slots and we've got a lot of fun little tricks that we can do. But for now, I'm going to call that good for the deck tech. Let's jump into the league and see what we can do.
All right, everyone. Oh, have fun. Welcome to the first match with Neobrand. Is this a keep? So this is a land, some protection, although a little more than normal, a consistency card, and a combo piece. And we're on the draw. I think this is keepable. We need to find another green card, we need to find another land, and we need to find Allosaurus Rider. But we are up against probably a control deck. So I am glad to have the Pact of Negation in hand. I have 2 Pact of Negations in hand. Look at this. All right, we're going to open Farsight. Our opponent is going to decide whether or not to Force of Negation it, I guess. I don't think you forced this. Yeah, I didn't think so. I think we have to bottom all of these. Because that wasn't blue mana. And then we'll blind reveal and flip the Allosaurus Rider, baby. Love it. Love to see it. Okay. So now we just need a blue source. And we have double Pact of Negation plus... Well, we also need a green card. Okay, so we're a couple more cards away. That is a blue source. Amazing. Let's forest cycle this Generous Ent. We will grab our Hedge Maze, and we will play our Hedge Maze to try and set up a green card on top for the combo next turn. That is a green card. Go ahead, opponent. So I think they have Force of Negation because we saw them pause really long on the first album Farsight. Probably they also have some sort of 1 or 2 mana interaction here. They kept on top with their archive. They do know what we're playing, more or less. The question is, do we fire off the... Because we have these consigned memories, we might actually want to try and find another blue source for holding up consigned memories so that we can stop... Oh... Wow. Oh, that's really painful. Okay, that means we cannot draw multiple cards. So I think what we have to do is we have to slam this rider. And we have to neoform it into Galta. And hope that we only need to use 1 Pact of Negation. You know what? That's fine. That can resolve. I will consign to memory the Subtlety trigger. You know what? With replicate 1, even. Because there's nothing else I'm using this mana for. Same targets, because we do not want to give them scam. So now we have an Allosaurus Rider on the battlefield, and we are hoping that they don't have removal or bounce, but they probably have removal or bounce. This is a control deck we're talking about. They're going to go digging with Narset. Control is a really bad matchup for us. And because, oof. Oh. Well, we can't let that resolve. That just kills us. Okay. So we are again going to replicate this consigned to memory once. Same targets, so that we don't have to pay our pax trigger. We'll draw a card for the turn. It is a breeding pool. We will play that tapped. So that, I guess, was a reason to only to not replicate. We will attack the Narset. Oh, but now we lose the Allosaurus Rider to the Wandering Emperor. I shouldn't have replicated. No. No. Well, let's see if they Emperor it. If they don't, we have a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. Yeah, this is in general, though, just a really bad matchup. They have hard counterspell plus the Wandering Emperor in hand that we know about. The question is if they Emperor to exile the Allosaurus Rider, and it looks like they will. That is tapping mana. Yeah. Okay. So I misplayed that. I should not have replicated the consigned to memory. We're going to bring in Veil of Summers. We're going to cut Elven Farsights. We're going to bring in Wistfulness. We're going to cut Chancellor of the Tangle. Chancellor of the Tangle mana is not helpful here. We are trying to play a long game. Wistfulness can draw us cards. I don't think we're going to need Into the Floodmaw or Leyline of Sanctity, so we're just going to run it like that. Control is a very bad matchup, and that's really unfortunate to run into in the first game of the league. I was hoping to not play against hard control. Did they reveal a companion? They did not. So they're not playing, what's its name? The elemental cat companion thing. Which they could be, because the only creature that we saw is an elemental. Kahira the Orphan Guard. That's the card I'm thinking of. Yeah, because control decks like to play Kahira when their only creatures are Solitude and Subtlety. Okay, this is a hand that has both of our combo pieces, plus the ability to Wistfulness. We're going to keep it. We're going to turn one fetch a Surveil. We're going to follow it up with an Evoked Wistfulness to draw some cards to try and find a Counterspell answer. And then we're going to hope to get to the Eldritch Evolution. Untapped Hollowed Fountain. It's not good for us. But we will fetch. Probably they're holding up a Spell Snare here. Although it could be Mystical Dispute. I'm going to mill that. I don't think we need another Summoner's Pact right now. Okay, another Eldritch Evolution isn't bad, but it's not the best. It's not what we're looking for. It's probably just discard fodder for this Wistfulness. This is a mana value of 5, so they cannot Spell Snare it. But they can Mystical Dispute it. Okay. Well, I'm glad that's out of their hand. We could try to combo next turn. We'll see what we draw. And we'll see what they do with their turn, which is probably just play land pass. Oh, they do not have counterspell up. Isochron Scepter. Oh, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. Isochron Scepter imprinting silence effect, which would be Orm's Chant, would be rough. Yep, so if they untap with the Scepter here, we just do not get to play this game. So we have to go for it, which we are going to do. We cannot exile both of these endurances, so it is Eldritch plus Endurance that is the exiles. But yeah, this just locks us out of the game until we find Boseiju. And potentially they can even stop Boseiju. Oh, it resolved. They went shields down. No Solitude, please. That was no Solitude. Can we actually draw the combo pieces? We cannot. So, I will deploy a big guy. And we packed it once. So I'm just gonna, I have 12 cards in hand. I would have to discard a lot to hand size. We could Endurance our graveyard back. I don't think that does much. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna pass. I don't think we want to Summoner's Pact for another Allosaurus Rider. This is plenty. I will discard Eldritch Evolution, Endurance, a Neoform, the Gut Shot, and probably Pact. Alright. This is looking pretty good. So they're going to Isochron Scepter us, but they cannot kick it with a tapped land. And that runs them out of mana. So we have to respond to this, which I think we do by replicating it once. Okay. Yeah, they respond with the Orm's Chant. Which I think is fine. Although we can actually just Boseiju this right now. No, I'm gonna wait. Yeah, because Boseiju gets around Isochron, or it gets around Orm's Chant. And it stops that gosh darn Isochron Scepter. We're gonna try to get our attack in before we worry about draws Planar Genesis. That's pretty good. We'll play the Misty. We'll swing for a lot of damage. We'll Boseiju the Scepter. So that gets rid of the Orm's Chant. They do get probably a Surveil land here. I don't expect an untapped land. Yep. So this puts them a little bit ahead on mana, but I think that's fine. We've got a Veil of Summer. We've got a Pact of Negation. We could Planar Genesis to try and find our other answer to our own Pact trigger, the other Consigned to Memory. We can also draw cards with Grizzlebrand now. They put it on top. That's not amazing. Wonder what it could be. I mean, if they do anything, we just respond with a Grizzlebrand trigger. Supreme Verdict is not fun, but I'm going to draw 7. So we could try to just kill them now? Is that worth it? Gain 8. Fetch a forest? I mean, there's no reason not to draw more cards while we've got Grizzlebrand on the field. The only issue is exiling Galta means that we can't really do much about... Like, we can't second Neoform because we don't have any other Neoform targets in the deck. Although, we exiled one Endurance and we binned the other. Oh, there's the Noxious, though. Oh, and there's more Shoals. Oh, we might have this. Wait a minute. Shoal 7 drop. So this is one of the cool things about the Gut Shot Endurance win condition is that, yep, amazing, is that we are entirely instant speed. So we do have to Noxious Revival the Endurance here. Where'd it go? There it is. I'm gonna pay life for this because we can afford that. And then we draw another 7. And we are just trying to get to a point where we can... Do we have another Shoal still? No. Okay, so it's Endurance. We'll have 21 cards in the deck. Endurance, Exile. So it doesn't really matter. Genesis. Probably should exile Neoform, actually. It evokes itself. It puts the cards back into the deck. So we've got 21 cards in the deck now. They are in a random order. I think we should have a Shoal in the top 7. We have a Worm, we have a Shoal. Alright, so we will Shoal the Worm, draw the rest of the deck, and kill our opponent. with an uncounterable Supreme Verdict on the stack. I love this deck. Gain some more life. Gain some more life. Here's the 7. And we've still got double Pact of Negation plus Veil of Summer if our opponent tries to do anything funny. Gut shot you. Gut shot you. Where's our third gut shot? It's over here. Gut shot you. Now we go find our Endurance. Ooh, Moto, are you alright? Exile a Pact. Do it in this order. Yield to that. Yield to that. Draw the last 7. We are at 3, but our opponent is dead to this, plus this, and plus these. We took a game off control. Okay. Alright, that was not easy. But that is really good. Okay. Do we want the end of the Flood Moss? I think the answer is still no. I think we're going to keep the Planet Genesis instead, and we're going to run it back. I did notice, like, so one of the things about Wistfulness is that when you board Wistfulness in, you do drop low on 7s. Like, Allosaurus Rider is kind of your only 7, and then Generous Ent and Disciple of Freyalise are your 6s. So it can be a little hard to keep a Nourishing Shoal chain like that going where we're super low life, but we managed to do it that time. I need to refill my water bottle. Stay hydrated, folks. This is your mandatory water break while we wait for our control opponent to figure out what the heck they want to sideboard against
literal combo. This is like one of their best matchups. I'd like, if you're a control player and you could choose one deck to face off against every round, I'm pretty sure it would be this. We're just so bad into it. This is a decent hand. Despite not having any combo pieces, it sucks that we have a gut shot in hand, but we've got a Pact of Negation, we've got a Surveil land, we've got a Generous Hint, we've got a, like, we have card draw is what I'm trying to say. They're mulliganing. Okay, this is good. If the control deck is mulliganing, we're in a good spot. So this is going to be turn 1 Surveil, probably turn 2 Generous Hint, find the other Surveil land and play it. We're okay with them casting Isochron Scepter, like, we don't mind that. Yep, Misty passes. We draw. Because we have Boseiju for the Isochron again. So it's a 2-for-1. That's one of the things about playing Scepter Lock Control is that you can get 2-for-1 against an opponent with answers to it. Okay, Allosaurus Rider is one of our kill cards. That's amazing. Opponent is probably going to grab their Meticulous Archive and Surveil. Insert Spider-Man finger-pointing meme. I guess it's not actually the same, but they're both borderless Surveillance. Opponent is also playing Polluted Delta, and so they've got a lot of fetches. Probably they've got some off-color fetchable lands as well, because control decks like to play those if they're playing like Converge cards. I've seen a control deck that's just playing like off-color sideboard cards. We are Generous Hinting for another Surveil land here. We are going to Surveil part the second. And that is an Eldritch Evolution, so we get to go off next turn with Pact of Negation backup. We are hoping that they tap out for something like Isochron Scepter. That would be our best case scenario, but they're probably not going to do that. So the question is then, do we want to just wait and Planar Genesis, or do we want to like cast Wistfulness? And I think I'm going to wait and Planar Genesis. You know, actually, Wistfulness is higher upside. I know this is like, we've just spent both of our Artifact Enchantment answers, but yep. Okay, we draw 2. We probably are discarding Gut Shot here. We got Neoform, we got Summoner's Pact. Okay, so this is interesting. Eldritch Evolution gets around the 1 mana, like, opponent cannot cast Mystical Dispute for 1 mana targeting Eldritch Evolution. They have to spend 3 mana on it. But Neoform lets us potentially hold up Interaction, or pretend to hold up Veil of Summer, which our opponent did not see last round. Our opponent did not see the Veil of Summers. Untapped. Okay. So let's see what we draw here. This is also a hand that could attempt multiple combos, I think. Endurance. That's exilable to an Allosaurus Rider. If we just pass, we have to discard a hand size. But if we go for the combo, or if we go for Allosaurus Rider and get it countered, like, we're down a ton of cards. I think I'm going to do it, though. We're going to exile these. This might just be a hard cast Subtlety. Literal Counterspell. Alright. So I'm going to Planar Genesis in response, because if we find... Do we just take another Rider, or do we take Pact? I think we take Pact for next turn, and hope to draw a green card, and let the Counterspell resolve. So if we could draw a green card, we get to go off next turn with double Pact of Negation backup, which is a pretty surefire way to get through a handful of BS from an opponent. That's not fun. I would not call that fun. Narset's kind of bad for us.
Teferi is really bad for us, so we definitely want our green card here because Teferi just prevents us from going off with packed backups. Okay, that is a green card. Oh, but we can't draw cards because of the Narset. So we just die to... Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pass. This is so stupid. And we're going to try to ambush Viper Endurance. Oh, that's really bad for us. Okay. They've got 6 cards in hand. It doesn't look like they've got a land, otherwise they would just be playing it. I don't know how we get out of this one. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. There's the Teferi. So we have to Endurance in response. But probably that means Teferi bounces Endurance. I think we're going to bottom our graveyard. We don't have anything we're doing with it. We'd rather keep these cards safe from graveyard hate. Yeah. Yeah, and now our Pact of Negations are dead cards, and we can't draw cards because it's Narset. So we need to top deck Gut Shot. That's the that's the funny part about this, is that it has to be Gut Shot. And it is not Gut Shot. But this lets us pay for a Summoner's Pact. Oh, but they're gonna have so much interaction though. I mean, this is kind of the only way that we can make this work, right? We have to. They've already shown us Counterspell. So we can guess that they probably don't have another one. I think we're going to exile Neoform and Endurance. They are going to Worms Chant us. This makes sense. But unfortunately now this means that Teferi is going to tick up. And so Gutshot no longer kills Teferi. Gutshot will kill Narset, which we need. We need that to happen. But Gutshot will not kill Teferi. Should we have cast the Endurance in response to that? I don't think so, because we need the green card in hand. We're going to pay for this. This is so stupid. This is just such a bad matchup. Yes, we will pay for the pact so that we do not lose the game. And they have another Worms Chant? What do they have? Solitude? Sure. I'm not sure why you would run that out in my upkeep of all places. But yeah, all right. That was really weird. I hope they don't have a flicker effect or another Solitude. Those would both suck. But now we've got a 5/5 on board, and this can attack Teferi and this can attack Narset. So they're going to have to probably spend the Solitude chumping. Unless they have, you know, more removal. Jace. Oh, if that bounces Owl Sorcerer, we're just dead. We're just dead. That's probably what you do with it, isn't it? Yep. All right. GG's. Control deck. I will concede. All right. Well, that is an unfortunate matchup. We managed to catch them out when they tapped out at a really bad time in game 2. But this shows more what happens is that they've got stacks pieces that we need to deal with that we can't, that just sort of incidentally like destroy what we're trying to do. And then they're going to counterspell and interact with us out of the game. So that's a rough one. On to match 2.
All right, everyone. It is time for round 2. I've got my water bottle refilled, and this is a very good hand. Okay. So this is a turn. This is Reveal Chancellor, cast Elven Farsight. This is not a turn 1. If we had a second Chancellor, it could cast Eldritch Evolution. If these Eldritch Evolutions were Neoform, well, this would have to also be a blue land, I guess. But we are going to keep this. Because this is 2 combo pieces and a consistency card to find lands. I maybe don't reveal the Chancellor, though. No, actually, I am. Because if Elven Farsight finds Generous End, then we want to be able to use that mana. I guess it doesn't really matter. There's not really any reason not to. Okay. This is all very, very good. So, top the Generous End, draw the Generous End, play the Forest, pass. I think now we grab, I think this wants to grab our shock land so that we can Planar Genesis to look at 4 cards to try and find a land next turn, instead of just, like, surveilling to look at 1 card. Forest. Amulet of Vigor. So this is Amulet Titan. Titan is an interesting matchup because this is very, like 2 ships passing in the night. Like, these decks are not going to interact with each other. They're just going to try to do their thing first. So I am going to actually cast out the Allosaurus Rider here because my opponent does not have any interaction to deal with it. They cannot turn on Valakut this turn, I don't think. And doing this means that we don't get caught by random Vexing Baubles, which they do play in the main board sometimes because of Urza Saga. Bauble's just like a good card. Handweir Battlements and passes. So we're going to Planar Genesis, or we could Ent. Ent does it for sure. Yeah, that's probably best. So we will Ent. We will grab a Forest. We will untap. We will draw. We will play the Forest. We will be very happy to draw a Nourishing Shoal. Amazing. We will attack you for 4 so that we can shorten our clock a little bit. And then we will Eldritch Evolution. And this is going to grab Griselbrand. Now, we have had to pay a little bit of life for our shock land, but I'm not super concerned. We've got a Shoal in hand already. There's a Worm. Now, this is an opponent who genuinely could just kill us if we let them untap. So I think it is important to try to go all the way for the kill. I need another Shoal. I found another Shoal. Perfect. Alright, so now we're pretty much guaranteed to win the game here. Because we're going to draw most of our deck. Yep, there's more Shoals. So hold on. So 6 plus 5 is 11, right? So this is 12. This is 13. No, wait, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because of our life total. This is 13. And then Endurance makes 14, and then we can draw the whole pile. So, I meant to exile Summoner's Pact there. Whoops. Alright, opponent is probably going to pretty quickly learn what's going on here. We're going to save the targets and always yield to both of these endurance triggers, and so as long as we just click the right one, it's only a single click to actually do that. We draw the rest of our deck.
we show them our win condition. It's gut shot. I am going to ping you until you die, opponent. Where's our last one? It's not over here. But we may as well just start moving cards to make this easier in the long run. There's the last one. So that's 3 gut shots. And then I'm just going to exile these 6s. I'm not going to go looking for my 7s. We're not going to end up exiling enough cards in our deck to make a lot of this matter. Like, because we hit them with the rider, right? So we just click that one first. And bam, bada bam, that's 7 cards in deck. Ooh, let's not accidentally kill ourselves by over-clicking. So, Shoal, Gut Shot, Gut Shot, Gut Shot, Shoal. Is there a big one nearby? There is. I'm just gonna drag these green cards down because there's no reason to go this far, especially these big 7 drops. We like having those at the end where we're doing things, the business end, you might call it. So we've got 6 cards in the deck. That is endurance time. Man, Moto purported to fix this this bug with this thing not auto-scrolling, but it still doesn't do that sometimes, and it annoys me. Alright, and our opponent is a Titan player, so they're used to long combos with a lot of clicks, so I don't expect them to concede here. I expect them to make us do the whole thing, but they are definitely dead. Gonna exile a 7 here, and drag the 7s and the 7 and the 3s over for next round. Because we're going to have to start exiling 3s at some point. Let's see, 6 cards in deck. Endurance, stack it. Opponent, it appears, is F6'd. Not that it matters. I don't think there's anything their deck has that could deal with us. Boseiju could, like, you know, put a land into our pile and mess us up for a little bit, but as long as we hold onto a Summer's Pact, we can actually recover from that. Let's just exile these 3s. It doesn't matter. Our opponent is low enough now. Or the, you know, the second endurance, like. Yeah, it turns out once you draw your whole deck, if you're designed to win at that point, like, you're gonna naturally be pretty resilient to shenanigans. I can exile an endurance, exile the 2. We're at commander life totals. Like, it doesn't really matter what we exile. I have been told once before that I draw like a commander player when playing this deck. That was before the opponent knew what was going on, and they proceeded to die very, very fast. So I do not play a lot of commander. I tend to play the combos like this, or lock decks. I'm hoping to release a video with Lantern soon. Well, maybe not soon, but like at some point. So I'm not a commander person. And that's the win. We managed to race Titan. So normally in Titan matchups, in the Bant version, I would have Force of Vigor, which is an amazing card here. Here I do not have Force of Vigor. I think the sideboard for this is up Floodmaws, down... No, that can't be right. Up Wistfulnesses, down Genesis's. Because I want to keep Chancellor of the Tangle in. Again, this is a 2 ships passing in the night situation, so we want to be as fast as possible. And especially because we are on the draw and we won game 1, so we have a little bit of like wiggle room. We're going to keep the Chancellors in this game and try for a faster combo. We might bring them out for the Flood Moss and the Autochthon Worm next game if we run into like a bevy of hate pieces from our opponent. But they're playing like half lands and not a ton of interaction. So this really is just to try to kill them fast. If we get a chance to turn 1 an Allosaurus Rider, we probably do it. I don't think they bring in Dismembers usually. If they do and they get us with that, that would suck. Because they do have Dismembers in the sideboard often, like a 2 or a 3 of. All right, opponent. Okay. This is an interesting one. Grizzlebrand in hand is okay. I am going to keep this. This is combo piece 1 plus consistency card. So we're probably not killing them with the full combo. Ooh, they are mulliganing like crazy. So they could be looking for Vexing Bauble or something like that, which would be a little bit rough for us. The question here is, do we Hedge Maze turn 1 or do we Breeding Pool Elven Farsight turn 1? Because Breeding Pool Elven Farsight gives us the opportunity to set up, you know, an Allosaurus Rider and a green card on the top of the deck and then try to combo next turn. Just like instantly go off. Whereas Hedge Maze plays a slightly longer game. Let's see what they do though. Crumbling Vestige. So they have a 1 mana play. It's an X spell. It's Green Sun Zenith. Oh, okay. That's not bad. That's fine. So I think we do have a little bit of time here. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to run with the Hedge Maze then and try to set up a green card on top. Like an Eldritch Evolution. Perfect. And this means that we don't have to exile the Nourishing Shoal to the Allosaurus Rider, which gives us much better odds of actually winning with the combo. Mirror Pool. Yep. Do you attack with the Dryad Arbor? They do attack with the Dryad Arbor. So it doesn't matter whether we play Breeding Pool or Misty Fetch a basic here. If they had not attacked with the Dryad Arbor, we would be able to Misty Fetch and be at 19. And with, well, I guess it wouldn't work because we're fetching Galta here. So normally if we're at 19, because we have 2 15s and an 8 in the deck, Nourishing Shoal can get us to 22, which would let us draw an extra 7. But I don't think it matters here. We're still going to do Misty because this gets us blue mana in case... I mean, they're not going to Blood Moon us. But... there's less life, it thins the deck. Like, there's no reason not to do it right there. We're going to grab Allosaurus Rider. We're going to pitch Eldritch Evolution and Elven Farsight to the Allosaurus Rider. And we are going to Neoform the Allosaurus Rider into, in this case, we're going to get it into Galta, and we're going to put Grizzlebrand into play. So this is the reason that we are playing Galta. It used to be that this deck played a second Grizzlebrand in case, you know, you draw one of them or have one of them in your opening hand, because that would basically mean you, like, if you only have one Grizzlebrand and you draw it, you lose the game. But if you have 2 Grizzlebrands, or in this case a Grizzlebrand and a Galta, and you draw a Grizzlebrand, then you're okay. So I'm going to Nourishing Shoal, exiling a 7-drop Chancellor, and then I'm going to Noxious Revival back the Nourishing Shoal when Moto decides to operate. Come on. Come on, baby. It's okay, no one's hurting you. There we go. Don't mind me, I'm just baby talking Magic Online. Alright. Only got the 1 shoal, so that's a little unfortunate. We don't have a Summoner's Pact right now. Yeah. So I'll exile a 7-drop. We really need to find Consigned to Memory here. That's the problem, is that we packed it. Okay, there's 2 more shoals. Shoal. Hold that in hand in case we draw the worm. Wow, what is going on? Shoal again. Do we really not have... Okay, that's the worm. Oh, okay, so we're going to draw the whole deck. So we are okay. We got there. Okay, so we drew the whole deck. We've still got a worm in hand. Yeah, there's both of our consigned memories at the bottom. Okay, so now we have 9 cards in the deck. So we are going to evoke an Endurance, pitching a Summoner's Pact. And this time we're going to stack the triggers the other way. So this puts 9 cards on the bottom of our deck, so we are guaranteed to draw Nourishing Shoal. Which I think we were anyway, actually, but this is just, like, slightly safer. Shoal, so 2, 4, and they scoop it up. They don't want to see the combo again. All right, we got there against Titan. That can be a very scary matchup because, again, they do have Amulet of, or not Amulet of Vigor, Vexing Bauble, which can cause us difficulties in the early game. They've got a better late game than us. They have cards that just win the game when they draw them in the late game, and we have to have, like, 2 combo pieces to do it. But it is very much a 2 ships passing in the night kind of game, and we got there this time. So we are 1-1 and on to round 3.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the 3rd round of our Modern League. And we're looking at a pretty good hand here. This is 1 combo piece plus consistency plus potentially multiple surveils. Consigned Memories Interaction. Nourishing Shoal for when we combo. I'm going to keep this. Opponent leads on Marsh Flats. So could be a Thoughtseize deck, which would be worrisome. I'm going to play the Hedge Maze. It's a bit of an unfortunate draw. I would rather have been able to hold up Consigned Memory and the Surveil. Because we don't really know what our opponent is up to. Okay, Meticulous Archive. Off of Marsh Flats, though. Mills of Flooded Strand and another Marsh Flats. So this could be another control deck, which would be really unfortunate. Play the Misty Pass. Hold up Planar Genesis. Okay, so this is probably... Esper Blink. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So Esper Blink is a worse matchup than Jeskai Blink, and Jeskai Blink is kind of a 50-50 matchup. Esper Blink has Thoughtseizes, they have more interaction. If this is Goryo's, which is still possible at this point, then they've got very fast kills. Wow. Really? Under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Well, alright, whatever, I guess. I guess Forest. No response. You may swing opponent. Philia is going to flicker the Flicker Wisp. Oh, this is going to put one of our lands in... Oh, this is going to tuck one of our lands into the exile zone for our turn, isn't it? But we did find the Eldritch Evolution. So... we might be doing all right. Yeah, at the beginning of the next end step, we get that back. So... oh, but there's the Neoform. Alrighty, I guess we just go off. Heck yeah, love it. ECL Ent, ECL Eldritch Evolution, and that just resolved instantly, so I expect that they do not have Solitude, otherwise they would not be F6ing there. And we grab the demon. Ooh, that's a pause though. Ah, they do have the Solitude, so we're going to draw 7 in response. And then we are going to Shoal a Rider, draw another 7. And there's the Pact of Negation. Beautiful. Get that out of here. Draw our 7. And there's a worm. Shoal the worm. 25 cards in deck, so that's not particularly close to a multiple of 7. Otherwise, we could thin with these Summoner's Packs. I am in danger of not hitting another Shoal. Do I have... Oh, they scooped it up. Okay. Alright, most people don't scoop right there. So that was a little bit odd. We did have Consigned Memory to stop our pack trigger, though, and we would have had... I mean, we were going to draw another 7. 2 Consigned Memories. Did we have another Summoner's or Pact of Negation? Yeah, alright. I mean... Oh, wow! I didn't realize they left the whole match. Okay, opponent did not feel that that was a good matchup, or they just had to leave, I guess. We take those on to round 4. All right, everyone. Let's type that correctly, please. It is time for round 4. We are currently up 2 and... this is a turn 2 combo. We're currently up 2 and 1. Yeah, this is a keep. So, land, Generous Ant for breeding pool, Allosaurus Rider Neoform on turn 2. Boom. Yeah, that's... I mean, it's not a turn 1 hand. I still haven't pulled a turn 1 while recording with this deck. But that's, you know, about as good as it gets without being a turn 1. I have played against this opponent before. In fact, did I play against them this league? How do I view the league details? I don't think I can do that right now, actually. So it's possible this is a control player again. Flooded Strand is just, you know, a scary card. I do not like seeing blue and white mana in conjunction. We're going to grab the Breeding Pool. We are going to play the Breeding Pool untapped, and we're just going to jam. We have backups in case it doesn't work. Ooh, okay, they did have Subtlety. Alright, that's okay. So we can try again next turn. What did they exile? They exiled 1 Shutong? Okay. That's not a card I see very often. We're gonna top that, and we're gonna pass. Okay, so if they're playing Wan Shutong and they're playing Subtlety, yeah, it's a control type deck. So this is probably holding up Counterspell. They could just be bluffing, though. I mean, we're going to jam into it. I don't think we have any reason not to, really. Like, yeah, if they have Counterspell, they got me. Okay, that resolved. Do you have it? We probably just scoop if they do have it. Okay, it's just consult the star charts. It was a bluff. We called it. Let's go. All right, we're going to draw some cards. I'm okay if they have another... Ooh, amazing. And they scoop it up. Let's go. We called the bluff. They were kind of hoping that we would scoop to them tapping double blue there, but no, I'm gonna make you have it. I'm not scooping early to that. We are bringing in the Wistfulness instead of the Chancellor of the Tangles because we are not trying to be fast in this matchup. And we're bringing in the Veil of Summers instead of the Elven Farsights because these are, 1 mana green cantrips essentially, but they're very important in protecting our combo here. Okay, we have a 0 lander, so I don't think we can keep. This is much better. This is bottom Grizzlebrand. So this has got 1 combo piece and consistency card, which is, like we've been talking about, that's sort of what you want to see if you don't have both combo pieces in hand. They're going to lead on a Polluted Delta. We're probably Misty Rainforest Fetch for Surveil. Okay, Wistfulness is interesting. So we can't currently draw a discard with Wistfulness unless we use it to find another blue source. But because we have Planar Genesis, I'm kind of okay just Genesising, and Bowmasters is a scary card against us. I'm okay just Genesising and perhaps Wistfulnessing, wow, in a later turn. Our opponent appears to only have 1 land. So, that scares me for density of interaction cards. But it does... Do we just slam the Rider? I doubt that they have any interaction except for Subtlety, which is fine. We have green cards to spare. I'm just gonna Planar Genesis. I'm gonna pass in Planar Genesis. Next turn we can end Search Breeding Pool, Wistfulness to draw some cards. We've got, yeah, as long as they continue to be stuck on lands, like they're not gonna be able to interact very heavily. Like they're gonna have free spells. Oh, they're gonna spell snare that? Okay. Yeah, that's like your shield's down now. I mean, we just go for it, right? Right? Exile Endurance. Exile End. Okay. They settled Teal Wanchitong again. Sigh. Yeah, we're gonna put it on top. It's a green card. It does the thing. Opponent found their 2nd land, so now they could have real counterspell, which would be rough. We know that they've got 4 other non-land cards in hand. We don't exactly know what they are. There could be more Bowmasters. Like, Bowmasters is kind of fine. We can deal with that. The pause. So this gets around Stern Scolding is one of the things. They definitely attempted to cast a spell there, so I am kind of expecting Stern Scolding. We're hoping for not a counterspell for the Neoform. This is 2nd spell snare. Oh, it's Mystical Dispute. Okay. I know that they have only 2 lands, but we are going to concede here because we need so many more cards to try and win again, and they have Surveils, they have cards in hand that's probably more interaction. Like, they just have so much time to find everything. So we're just going to try it again. We did not find any of our protection spells there, which would have been nice. I think they were correct to spell snare the card draw spell. This is 1 combo piece, but no ways to dig. This is a keep. And I think we just bottom the Forest and lead on Misty, fetch it for Surveil next turn, Planar Genesis. Noxious can maybe do some work. I never know how to sort the cards in the hand in this deck. I've got like specific sorting orders for a lot of my other decks. But this one, it just gets convoluted. Alright. Surveil with the Hedgemates. Bin a Nourishing Shoal. Which hurts a little bit, but we don't need that. Consign's good. Consign can stop a Consign can stop a subtlety. Okay, they're not gonna fetch Surveil. Interesting. Okay, because if they fetched, we would probably Genesis in response. So let's go grab a forest, because I suspect that this opponent might have Blue Moon. The Merfolk. And they're just going to let it go. Is this just another Genesis, or is this Veil of Summer? I think it has to be another Genesis. That's the Neoform. Okay. So we're going to pass. We're going to Genesis in an attempt to find a blue land or like a Pact of Negation or something that lets us protect ourselves here. Okay, I think it has to be Ent. Worm's not amazing. We're going to Force Cycle for a Surveil. We're going to play the Surveil, and then we're probably going to try to go off next turn. Rider Pitch, Revival plus Autochthon, depending on what we draw. I'm going to mill the Summoner's Pact. I don't think we need that. I'm surprised we haven't gotten Thoughtseized. Like, 3 games and we haven't gotten Thoughtseized. That looks like... I was going to say Bowmasters, but this is probably Kick a Consult. Oh, One Shitong. Okay. So, I mean, that gets cards, draws cards when we search our library. Only opponents, though, right? Yeah, whenever an opponent searches their library. So, yeah, that'll draw a card when we resolve Neoform, but that's totally fine. Because we already have the All-Source Rider in hand. Like, if we had Summoner's Pact, then that would be a problem, but we don't. Sorry, they milled Subtlety, they drew, they played Undercity Sewers. I'm not sure why Moto decided to, like, do all that at one moment. We lagged on our end. They top with the Undercity Sewers. So I'm assuming they do have a Subtlety. Because otherwise, what are you doing? We really like the Pact of Negation here. Second Neoform. Okay. Rider. Exile, exile. I assume use Subtlety. Yes. Exile and consult the star charts. We will attempt to consign this trigger. It works. So we 1-for-2'd them, which feels pretty good. Although this is a 3-for-1 right here. I think we just have to go for it. Right? Cancel. What happens if we don't go for it? What happens if we would have to top deck? That's the problem. I'm just gonna do it. Boom, what you got? Something. Spell Snare. Dang nabbit. Alright, well, this time we only have to draw 2 cards in order to go off again. So, because they been to Subtlety, they did top something, so I'm a little afraid of what they put on top. We're not dying really fast to this One Shitong at all. Like, we're doing not half bad. That's another Rider. That's amazing. So, just another green card, and we get to have another attempt at going off. If we draw a consistency card, probably we cast it looking for protection. Because if we get a protection spell, I think probably we resolve this 100%. This is their 6th turn. They have just played their 5th land, so I don't think they have a ton of lands in hand, because they missed a land drop earlier. Grizzlebrand's not good. That is not a draw we want to see. because that presses us into neoforming for Galta. Although Galta at this point is almost lethal just on its own, which could be relevant. They do have white mana. Wait, did we see their white mana in the other games? I don't think so. If they're playing white cards, but like they would have fetched out white mana previously, so it's just a really small splash. Okay, this Misty is going to let one Shitong draw a card, so we're not going to crack it unless we need to. I don't think the deck thinning is worth letting them draw an extra card and double their clock, essentially. Which I know, like, going from 1 to 2 is funny, but the drawing of cards is the part that we're more worried about. Opponent has not been missing their land drops since the one turn that they did. So, are they going to Orms Chant me? You Orms Chant me after I cast Allosaurus Rider, though. Or after I resolve Neoform or something. You don't Orms Chant. Unless you have an I win the game card next turn. But I don't know what you would be playing that you wouldn't have just cast already. Ooh, that's a really good draw. So let's cast this. We're going to cast Wistfulness using Evoke. Draw a couple, discard. So this doesn't go up in cards. But this does let us dig a little deeper for protection, essentially. Pact of Negation is perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. So now if we just top deck a green card, we're good. We get to go off with Protection X1. We did not let the one Shitong draw any cards. We get to slam a Galta and a Grizzlebrand, which at this point is just lethal through attacks. So we don't even have to worry about drawing cards, although we can do that. This one Shitong is being a little annoying. What do we have in exile? This is going to exile our second worm. So yeah, the combo is probably offline, at least in terms of like the full combo. No! Well, okay, so we have lost this game now, but I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to do this because they might just concede to a resolved Neoform. We saw them concede real early last game. Yep. That resolved. Amazing. Cast Neoform. Sacrifice Allosaurus Rider. It is on the stack. They have something. We say no to their something. They have something else. Force of Negation. Good one. All right. Unfortunate, but it was another control deck, so those are bad matchups for us. We are now 2-2, so we've got a tiebreaker 5th game. Let's see if we can get a winning league. All right, it is time for round 5. We are 2-2, so we are looking for the tiebreaker to finish it out. And we have opened a turn 1 combo hand. Finally. Okay, hold on. Good luck, have fun to our opponent. Oh, that did not send. Okay. Our opponent is taking a moment to decide upon their mulligan. By the way, I realized where I recognized our last opponent's name from, and that is they are on the trophy leaderboard. They have 3 trophies. And got one recently enough that they're up on top. So our opponent has kept 7, we have kept 7, they have no opening hand actions, we have an opening hand action. We will reveal Chancellor of the Tangle to get an additional green mana. Oh, it's the mirror. Although actually probably our opponent is playing the slower version. They're probably playing Neoform combo, and we are Neobrand combo. And Neobrand combo cares a little bit less about silly little things like attacking. I think these are our exiles right now because That just leaves the most mana value left in the deck. We have no reason to fetch the shock, so we will fetch the basic, float our mana, Neoform Allosaurus Rider, and get the demon when Moto decides. There we go. Excuse me? MTG Online, are you okay? MTG Online, are you okay? That's some tech, opponent says. They don't know. Okay. Although we do need to find a shoal. And we did not find a shoal. Whoops. Okay, so we're gonna cast an Allosaurus Rider and then pass. Exile, Genesis, and I guess one of the Chancellor? Nah, Genesis and Farsight. Yeah, that's not amazing. So this will be a discard, this will be a discard, this will be a discard. I don't need the gut shots because I don't expect them to be. And we'll discard one of the hedge mazes. So we cannot currently Pact of Negation them. We are more so hoping that they just do not combo us instantly. Because we don't have a way to escape our own pacts. Which is a bit of a problem, because they topped with their hedge maze. So we are favored in this matchup. That's the kind of interesting thing, is that just because of the way that our deck is built, we have more ways to stop them than they have to stop us. Exile the Summoner's Pact, so that's not amazing. Yep, Neoforms. I can't do anything about that. But they had a Galta in hand. Are they playing two Galtas? No, it's just a Grizzlebrand. Interesting. And they're going to pass. What do we draw? We draw a Worm. Misty. Fetch. Forest. Planergenesis. And we got the shoal. Let's go. Okay. So. Opponent should be dead here. Hopefully. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Alright, we will shoal, exiling a 15 drop. And we're going to draw a couple cards. Don't mind us, opponent. They have a Pact of Negation. Well, so do we. And we are going to use it. They are going to draw 7. Makes sense. I think that's okay. Oop. Moto is just really not being happy with me today. Dum, da-dum, dum, 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 dum. Okay, they drew 7. Our pact is on the stack. They're out of mana, so they need to find another Pact of Negation. Now, they do play more Pact of Negations than we do. I think they play 3 in the main deck. Do they find anything? That's the question. And they concede. All right. So they do not. So they have seen the gut shot. We had to discard it to hand size. With gut shot plus nourishing shoal, probably they can guess that we are the full-on combo version. What we are going to do here for sideboarding is interesting with this matchup. We're going to bring in the Veil of Summers, and we're going to cut the, I think it's the Farsights, and we are going to keep in Chancellor of the Tangle. So our opponent is not playing any hate, because all of the hate that hurts them also hurts, or all of the hate that hurts us also hurts them, so we don't need Wistfulness. We're just trying to go as fast as possible. The question is if we keep this. Veil of Summer is not really a consistency card, but this wins if we top deck one of our two. They mulligan to 6. I am going to keep this. I think this is a keepable hand. I think this is a risky hand, but we're up a game in a slightly favorable matchup, so I'm comfortable doing this. They bottomed a card. We're going to reveal 2 Chancellor of the Tangle. And they will just play a Misty and pass. Okay, Pact of Negation's not bad necessarily, but we don't get to do anything with this mana. However, you know what I can do actually is I can just run out this Rider. And if they want to try to counter that, yeah, they do not. Okay. So just slamming an early Allosaurus Rider, passing the turn, seeing what the opponent can do. We have Autochthon Worm in hand. We do not. So the Bant version is slightly better than the Simic version against Simic Neoform combo, which is what our opponent is playing here. Because it has Angel's Grace, which is just a great way to blink out. They're just going for it. I'm going to fetch Shock Veil of Summer. Because if this Shock finds Nourishing Shoal, or it finds Consigned to Memory, then we get to Pact of Negation the Neoform. Okay, well, okay, so it didn't find Consigned to Memory, but it did find Nourishing Shoal. So what's going to happen here is probably they're going to Gall to us. They're not going to Gall to us. Okay, interesting. They're just going to pass with Grizzlebrand on the field. I mean, that probably wins the game. Neoform? Generosant. Yeah. I'll force cycle that. Grab a Surveil land. They get to draw a ton of cards next turn, so we probably lose at this point. Ooh, especially like that. Yep. Alright, that's good enough. Okay. So, probably should have mulliganed that hand, although, I don't know, we had 2 draws to hit the thing. Do we want to change anything? Not really. I like having the Veil of Summers, because they have more counter magic than we do. Into the Floodmaw is a really funny way to just, like, straight up fizzle their whole combo, but I don't think it's necessary. This is the combo. This is 1 land short of it, but this is our 2 combo pieces. So we were hoping that they mulligan into Oblivion and or just can't do anything fast enough. Preferably both. They are currently mulliganing to 5, which is great. All right. We'll just play Misty and pass. Wooded Foothills for my opponent. Fetch a Surveil. If we find a Neoform, we probably just try to go. It would be nice to have a protection spell, but... Ooh, okay. Do we actually just try to go? It's a hard one, because... Mystical Dispute. So I'm going to play the Boseiju. Hmm. But I don't know that I can actually afford to keep Mystical Dispute in a hand like that. So I'm gonna go for it. If we die to this, we die to this. That was an instant resolve of the Summoner's Pact, I think. Moto lagged a little, which isn't great. We're going to exile 2 Eldritch Evolutions, but that was an instant resolve, so they do not have anything. We will cast the Neoform. We will grab the Grizzlebrand. We will hope to God that we win this game. We could totally fizzle from here. That's not great. I like the Pact of Negation. Kind of means that we can't Summoner's Pact, though. Ooh, there's the shoals. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Glorious. Glorious, glorious. And we've even got Noxious Revival in hand already. So, we are going to... Actually, did we Noxious this game? That's a good question. Moto is really slowing down. It cannot deal with the power of 2 Neobrand players. Or 2 Neoform players. Yes. So Moto is being laggy AF right now, which is unfortunate. I'm actually not going to Noxious Revival yet, because if we exile Worm and Galta now, we get to draw an extra 7 that way. Although Noxious Revivaling would put us to an exact multiple of 7 in the deck, which is not necessarily a bad thing. No, I'm just going to draw another 7. We're going to trust that we find the other worm. We found the other worm. And we will gain a little life. So 12 plus 9 is 21. Perfect. So I will Endurance. I will Endurance pitching Veil of Summer. I will stack the Evoke trigger on top. And then I will freak out for a second and check to make sure that I did not already exile an Endurance. Is the other one in hand? It is. Cool. Okay. So, save targets. Always yield. Always yield. Boo-boo-boo. Draw the rest of our deck. Draw the rest of our deck. Draw the rest of our deck. And now begins the loop. This is going to be a lot of clicking. I wish Moto had a way to pop out our hand, like we can do with the graveyard and the exile and revealed zones and things, like just so that we can see more cards at once. Because I would be able to play this deck if that was the case, or at least like play it better. So now we got shot our opponent twice. That gets us to 6 cards in the graveyard, and then at 6 cards in the graveyard, Endurance begins the loop for realsies this time. And now we Endurance, and exiling a 2-drop is fine, doesn't really matter at this point. We'll click this one first this time. Go down to 7 cards. Gut shot you. And then start ordering our hand so that I'm gonna apologize to the opponent because Moto is being super slow. Because I do think they're gonna sit through this whole combo here, because this is... So, a little bit of history lesson as we are killing our opponent here. Neobrand combo, the deck that I am playing, is the progenitor of Neoform combo, the deck that they are playing. I sort of posed it differently in the intro, if I remember correctly, because, yeah, like, Neoform combo is a wider category of deck, talking about, you know, any deck trying to combo with Neoform. And there are like Neoform combo decks in Pioneer and Neoform combo decks in Legacy and things, but Neoform combo in Modern refers to the deck that the opponent is playing, which was created after Neobrand has been a thing for like years. So they are the newcomer on the block, and I'm showing them what's up. That's what's happening here. I often refer to Neobrand combo as true Neobrand, and I refer to Neoform combo as the mid-range deck. Because compared to Neobrand, Neoform really is quite mid-range. You're not trying to combo as fast as possible. You're trying to like kind of sit back and accrue protection and then combo eventually. Whereas Neobrand is trying to go off as fast as possible. Like, that's why we're playing Chancellors and such. All right, we've got 13 minutes left on the clock, which would be a concern because Moto is running so slowly. But okay, now it's speeding up a little bit. Where was that speed before, huh? So that's the third Nourishing Shoal. And now we can Endurance. And I might just start exiling, like, green cards, period, in order to shrink the hand a little bit, because I know that all my big cards are over here. Alright, that's a 6. That's a 3. A 3 is big enough. At some point, we end up exiling 3s to shoals, so it's okay to do it now, too. Technically, at some point, we exile 2s as well, but that's a little hasty, so I'm not going to do that quite yet. And we just gotta do this loop 4 more times until they're dead. Really, it's not that bad. Like, yeah, my wrist complains at me sometimes. I have carpal tunnel, so it doesn't love playing this deck. But it's decently fast once you get it going. Just gotta get it going, you know? That's what she said. I might have to cut that one out. Just trying to get these big mana cards down to the end so that we can exile them to the correct things. Ooh. 11 minutes left on our clock. This should be plenty. Shoal 2. This is Shoal 3. And then we Endurance. Seven cards in deck. Draw the pile. Exile a 6. Poke you. Exile, I don't know, 7, I guess. Is this all of our green cards? I think this is all of our green cards. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So now we're going to be exiling 2s to the shoals. But we're at a very high life total, so that's like A-okay. We have shoaled twice, so this is shoal 3. And then gut shot 2. And gut shot 3. Sometimes if I'm playing against people who haven't seen this deck before, I'll recommend the YouTube channel, like in chat, just so that they can go see it. But I don't always do that when I'm actually recording, because it feels a little like poor form. And they scoop it up. All right, so we did get the 3-2, which is amazing, including a win over our sort of mirror
All right, well, let's talk about this in the wrap-up. It is wrap-up time. So for the league, we went 3-2. So we did get a positive league, which I was a little worried about, given that we matched into control round one. And both of the losses in that league were to control. We lost to blue-white control in round one and to blue-black control a little bit later in the league. We beat an Amulet Titan deck just by sort of racing them. We beat a Esper Blink deck because our opponent decided not to play after game one. And then we beat Neoform Combo, which is the sort of the tier version of this deck, although we are slightly favored in that matchup, as I mentioned talking during the matchup. As for this deck, so I do want to just talk a little bit about the Simic variant in relation to the Bant variant that I normally play. And the biggest changes here are the consistency card, Planner Genesis, the Consign to Memory over Angel's Grace, and then, of course, the mana base. First things first, the mana base. I really like the mana base in this deck. I love having access to basics, which the Bant version really just can only play one forest, and so they have a much harder time getting around a card like Blood Moon or a card like Blue Moon, which is the merfolk that turns all non-basics into islands. I forget what it's called. But those two cards can be really troublesome for a color-intensive combo deck like this, where we're trying to do our thing, and we require multiple cards to do that, and we've got a ton of dual lands. So we're pretty easily shut down by those cards, and the basics give us a way to just sort of naturally get out of that. We can fetch them out, we can Generous End them out. For the consistency card, Planner Genesis, I liked Planner Genesis. I did. I think it is not as consistent as Glittering Wish. And we saw that a couple of times where Glittering Wish would have gotten the card that we were looking for, usually Neoform, whereas Planner Genesis just kind of whiffed. But Planner Genesis, like, it's always going to replace itself if you didn't find what you needed. It usually, if it's not finding exactly what you needed, it's finding a consistency card or it's finding a backup copy of a combo piece that you already have. And this is actually pretty key. It is instant speed. So we saw in one of our games where we needed to top deck Nourishing Shoal in order to win. I think we had a pack trigger on the stack. And we Planner Genesis, and we found the Nourishing Shoal, and we went off. And this is one of the issues that Neobrand sort of has, is sometimes drawing 14 cards is not enough. And there are a ton of times when that Nourishing Shoal is just one more card down, and I don't have a way to get to it. So over in the Bant version, there's actually like this funny little fix to it that we can talk about it in a sec. But Planner Genesis is just a very good way to deal with that here. This deck is obviously way more consistent than the Bant's version. I say obviously, but we haven't talked about it yet. We'll get there. Consign to Memory over Angel's Grace. We did not have any issues this league with Consign to Memory not being able to counter enough pact triggers, because Angel's Grace is just a 1 mana answer to everything, and Consign to Memory can only answer as many triggers as we have mana for. We did have one moment, however, where we might have won a game against Control if we had not replicated Consign to Memory out of fear of getting it countered. And I don't know whether or not they did have a counter there, but it did mean that we couldn't Neoform immediately afterwards when we top decked the other land. So in a situation like that, Angel's Grace wouldn't have had that problem. We also wouldn't have been afraid of getting countered. Like, again, only 1 mana, can't get countered. But Consign to Memories, like, can just do so much more. We didn't really use it for anything else in this league, but it can counter all sorts of triggers. There's just a ton of stuff in Magic that it can do. I think we did see it counter a Subtlety trigger, which is one of the key things, is that it is an answer to Subtlety and Solitude, whereas the Bant version has to actually keep in Pact of Negation as an answer to Solitude against like Energy or other aggressive decks that are using Solitude and otherwise aren't using any counter spells or aren't using any on the stack interaction. So Consign to Memory is really good to have in those spaces, and I really like it.
So for the main board here, I think this is a very strong main board. I think this is stronger than the Bant, which is a little saddening to me because I actually don't own this version right now. I'm currently borrowing cards in order to play this because Consigned to Memory and Into the Floodmaw and Wistfulness are all very expensive, and I do not have the. I'm basically free to play on Magic Online. I do not have the ticks to get them, so. I'm not really sure what to do about that one. I guess we put the sub plug here. If we get enough subscribers to the channel, I can monetize the YouTube so I can play more Magic. um, so I think the main board here is very strong. There's still a little bit of iffiness in the mana base. I was finding that it is genuinely kind of inconsistent in terms of finding our second color. We had a lot of games where like we want blue and we don't have another blue source. But most of our consistency problems actually happened with the new card that we were trying out here. So the elephant in the room, let's talk about Wistfulness. Wistfulness is, I think, a genuinely very, very strong card. But I think I am currently not playing it correctly. One of the reasons that I have the mana base built the way that I do with 2 forests is because the idea is that Wistfulness is our answer to Blood Moon. We bring it in a matchup like Energy where we don't expect to see enchantment hate or artifact hate, but we do need to be able to answer it anyway just in case. And the problem with that is that it is really hard to cast consistently, especially if we're trying to do for Blood Moon. Like, it warps the mana base really, really hard. We need 2 forests to cast it in the face of a Blood Moon. And this is just really hard to do. Also, at that point, if you've got 2 forests, like, you can cast your Eldritch Evolution. And probably you had an opportunity to fetch an island, and maybe you did fetch an island, you can just cast Neoform. And I guess that's the other part of it too, is that we had a couple of scenarios where we had fetched a basic because our deck is relatively basic heavy for a Neobrand deck, and we couldn't evoke Wistfulness for the mode that we wanted to. I think we had one time where we wanted to evoke it for green and we couldn't. We had one time where we wanted to evoke it for blue and we couldn't. So I think partially I am playing it wrong. I think it should not be being played as a Blood Moon answer specifically. I think it should be being played as an answer to cards like Vexing Bauble or cards like High Noon, where those are matchups where the draw discard is really good. And the enchantment removal is really key, but we're not trying to like double forest specifically to get around a Blood Moon. And if we are playing it that way, I think we drop one of the forests for another breeding pool, and we incentivize fetching our dual lands anytime we've got Wistfulness in the board. It does cost more life, but because this build is playing Noxious Revival instead of Zurin Orb as its 5th shoal, this build is actually totally fine chunking itself for 5 over the course of a game, trying to get its mana base together. The other thing to talk about, though, then, is if we're not using Wistfulness as our answer to Blood Moon, what is our answer to Blood Moon? And there are 2 pieces to this. The first is Into the Floodmaw. Into the Floodmaw is here as a catch-all answer. I kind of just threw it into the sideboard because I didn't really know what to put into these slots. But it's good against aggro decks because it slows them down and means that we have more life to work with when drawing cards. It's obviously good against hate pieces. It's good against other Neoform decks, and we bounce the card that they searched. All sorts of things. So I think Into the Floodmaw needs to be the Blood Moon answer rather than Wistfulness. And Wistfulness is this card that we bring in as a catch-all in non-Blood Moon cases. This does mean that you're kind of priced into bringing in Into the Floodmaw, though, in any matchup where you suspect Blood Moon, and that's the problem. And this is actually a problem that the Bant list has solved. So let's take a look at the Bant list for a second. It's gonna undo the special sorting that I had. But you can see Glittering Wish here, Angel's Grace. This is a 61 card list because I couldn't find the space for the second Boseiju, so we just went up a card. But obviously, we've got
we've got a non-green land in here, which is really weird. So if you want to know a little bit more about why this deck is the way it is, I will link the video where I play it, this version, in the top corner if you want to go see that. But the thing that we're here to look at is the sideboard. And so we've got we've got our wish board here with our Neoform and our Nature's Chant as a way to answer artifacts and enchantments. But we need green and white mana to fetch this. So this is not our Blood Moon answer. What is our Blood Moon answer? Our Blood Moon answer is Wilt. So Wilt here is an instant speed 2-mana card that only costs a single green mana. So all we need to cast this is a single forest on the field in the face of a Blood Moon, which is really good. And also, Wilt has cycling too. So this is going back to the problem that I talked about with the problem that Planner Genesis solves. Wilt is a way to, at instant speed, on the stack of pack triggers, draw one more card to try and find that Nourishing Shoal. And it has gotten me out of several jams. Like, I think I've cycled it in those scenarios 4 times, and it's hit Shoal like 3 of them. So it's kind of wild how often that works. People look at me real weird when they see that I have pulled this in, but I have been playing this in paper, and it has really done a lot of work. Force of Vigor is here on the list as specifically a card that is good against Amulet Titan, because they play more targets. But I don't normally bring in Force of Vigor if I'm just trying to bring in a Blood Moon answer, for example. So Wilt is sort of in a similar slot as our good friend Wistfulness here. So, okay then, like, do we still play Wistfulness? Do we play into the Floodmaw? Do we play this Autochthon Worm in the sideboard? And the short answer is, I don't know. I'm not entirely certain what the optimal configuration for this sideboard is. I'm not entirely certain what the optimal configuration for the mana base is currently for this version of the deck. So I'm going to continue playing around with this. And hopefully in the future I get to release another video with sort of an updated version. But it would be really cool to see other people play this deck. So this is my open invitation. I mentioned in the deck tech, the deck list is in the description of the video. Go down, check it out, rent the deck from whatever rental service you have, or if you have the cards, play the cards. And I want to see what kinds of things you mess around with. And you can come back to the video and you can comment here, or you can find me on Discord, usually, and tell me what goes on there. So, yeah, that's our video for today. That is our league. We went 3-2 with this version of True Simic Neobrand, or Wistful Neobrand, today. So yeah, please comment on the video if there's something that you think I should change in the way that I make these videos. I'm still learning. One of the particular questions I have is, like, do people like watching me click through the whole combo, or do you want there to be more editing? But if there's anything else you can think of, if there's changes to the list that you can think of, if you just have questions, or if you just want to say hi, I'm down to chat. Comment on the video. It really does help a small YouTuber make their way up in the algorithm. If you can't take the time for a comment, a like is helpful. If you want to see more of this content, obviously subscribe. I do have a whole playlist of videos with this Neobrand variants that I am sort of building up as we go, and I play a little bit of Legacy Oops All Spells if you want to see me be a villain. But that's all for today. Until the next time I see you, good luck, have fun.